Yes, indeed. It is called
Gatsu! It's safe to say that in the video game industry there are countless developers that get inspired by a certain game and create something completely new with that idea. For example, Dead Space is heavily inspired by Resident Evil 4, Paladins is heavily inspired by Overwatch, PUBG is heavily inspired by Arma 3 and H1Z1, and the same can be told by Dark Souls. Hidetaka Miyazaki created a game so rich in lore, in story, in attention to detail, in gameplay, etc. Dark Souls is one of the best games of all time, and it's without a doubt a masterpiece. Dark Souls, as you guys already may know, is heavily inspired by Berserk. There are dozens upon dozens of little Berserk Easter eggs and references on the game, ranging from bosses, item descriptions, weapons, and even the armor your character is wearing. But one of the most noted an iconic reference from Berserk is this character, Artorias The Abyss Walker, who fended off the servants of the Abyss from eons versus Guts, the Black Swordsman. My name is Midnight, them to analyze Guts and Artorias completely and see who would win in that battle. Let's go! Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. Sir Knight Artorias was one of the 4 Knights of Gwyn, the commanding knights of Lord Gwyn's army. Artorias had an unbendable will of steel, which both helped and fed his hatred for servants of the dark, particularly the Dark Wraiths. Lord Gwyn bequeathed him with a custom-made ring, the Wolf Ring, to assist in his already unmatched ability to wield a greatsword. When in New Londo, Artorias discovered the ability of Abyss Walking, earning him his title Artorias The Abyss Walker, and allowed him to enter the Abyss, the home of the Dark Wraiths and the 4 kings themselves. At some unspecified time in the past, when Yggdrasil was attacked by the Abyss, Artorias traveled to Yggdrasil to rescue Princess Dusk of Yggdrasil. Artorias, deeply marked by the Abyss and feeling his end was near, gave his shield, which served as a magic aura to protect his loyal companion, a young Sith, a great wolf from the Abyss. Later, he had become fully corrupted by the Abyss. Sometime after, an unknown hero, the Chosen Undead, who traveled to the past, healed Artorias, releasing him from his wretched state, pretty much saving him. This also preserved his honor, because none would ever know what really happened to Artorias. He was instead believed to have died while facing the Abyss, instead of being corrupted to fulfill the Abyss's goals and killed by an undead. Artorias' arsenal is not very vast, but it is efficient and deadly nonetheless. He has his greatsword, which is a ginormous beast of a sword. Artorias pretty much stands double the size of the Chosen Undead in Dark Souls, and the greatsword of Artorias stands nearly as tall as him, as Artorias. Like, look, Artorias is effing tall as hell, and his greatsword, even when impaled on the ground, overthrows the Chosen Undead by half a head. If we took that the Chosen Undead has the average human height, then he would be at least 1.8 meters tall, and Artorias doubles his height, so Artorias must be at least 3.5 meters tall, and his greatsword as well. If we take that the greatsword of Artorias is made similarly as the Dragon Slayer's sword from Guts, then the weight of the greatsword of Artorias would be at least 1.5 times heavier than the Dragon Slayer. That gives the greatsword a weight of about 600 plus pounds. A single swoop with that fire trucker would end you completely. Artorias also has his magical Great Shield, which is able to repel the dark forces of the Abyss. Artorias is pretty darn strong and fast. He's able to swing his greatsword like if it was a feather, run with it, do flips with it, and hold it straight in a 180-degree horizontal plane with an indefinite amount of time. Try this. Grab a short stick and hold it horizontally for 10 seconds. Easy, right? Now add some weight to the far end tip and do the same thing again. I bet my laptop you will not be able to hold it completely straight. Aside from how strong is Artorias, his speed is also deadly. He moves faster than any normal human being, even though he clearly stands double the size of an average human being, and is 3 times heavier if we add his armor as well. He can do flips, backflips, sliding the floor, and do all kinds of crazy maneuvers with all of his equipment. In the Dark Souls games, Artorias was never shown to have any type of special attacks, like sorceries, pyromancies, or anything like that. The only things he had were some rings, given by a covenant and by Lord Gwyn, and they were used primarily for abyss walking. Artorias is by far my favorite boss from Dark Souls, and my favorite character, aside from my son bro Solaire. I think it's amazing how Miyazaki was able to create such an amazing, incredible character without giving him a voice. Yes, Artorias was meant to have dialogue inside the game, but it was cut for an unknown reason. Overall, the legend of Artorias the Abyss Walker is going to forever be one of the most epic tales from any video game.
Soon, I will be consumed by them, by the dark. Thou art strong, human. I beg of thee, the spread of the abyss. Wherever thou art, stay away.
Guts was born from the death corpse of his mother, but was later picked up by a band of mercenaries. Since he was a little child, Guts knew only war. He has been training with the sword since the age of, and because there weren't baby swords hanging around when he was training, he had to use oversized swords for training. That is probably the main reason why Guts is able to wield effectively great swords. After every combat he had, he would change his sword for a bigger and heavier one. The heavier and bigger the sword, the harder it strikes. That is the very reason why Guts is able to slash through 4 fully armored knights with one swing. A true powerhouse. After the eclipse, the most unfair thing to happen to any protagonist in media, Guts was heavily handicapped. He lost his left arm and his right eye. Luckily, he is right-handed, but that didn't stop him. In his arsenal, he has a bowgun, an iron prosthetic arm which he sometimes uses to deflect sword strikes or to hit his enemies in the face, a hidden cannon, some throwing knives and bombs, and the all-famous Dragon Slayer. Standing 2 meters in height and having a weight of about 400 plus pounds, this beast of a greatsword is able to slash through every known beast in the planet. It is also able to slash through pillars of solid stone. This great sword is able to do some heavy damage. It can slash through the most battle-hardened demons. One time it even cracked the adamantium skin of a dragon and withstand that, being used day and night for over 2 years, killing demons, apostles, people, etc. Didn't do a thing. It didn't break, obviously, but the best blacksmith in the goddamn universe was pretty pissed his artwork was that damaged. Guts, or Gatsu, is insanely fast. Even with full armor and the Dragon Slayer on his hand, he's able to outrun any human that has ever fought against him. Even at one point, he fought against the band of Silat, a Kushan unit made up of assassins, which were pretty damn agile and fast, and Guts was able to outmaneuver each one of them. With all that weight on his shoulders, the armor, the Dragon Slayer's sword, etc. Also, he has a speed of sound reaction times. At one point in the story, he fought an apostle named Rosine, which one of her attacks was dashing through her enemies at the speed of sound, and Guts, being the awesome guy he is, reacted to that attack and protected himself several times. Guts is an absolute unit in the Berserk universe. He has been stained by that several times and he always shakes it off. No matter what you do, he will never die. He will always find a way to survive. But of course, he will never let himself die until Griffith is dead and Casca has a brand of sacrifice removed from her. A true hero. He even got stabbed through his mouth and survived, no manches doy. And so, who would win in a death battle? Sir Knight Artorias or Guts the Black Swordsman? Leave your comment down below. In terms of pure, raw strength, Artorias comes out on top. He's carrying that ginormous sword like if it was nothing. And if this battle was a fist fight, the gods would have lost already. Like, come on, you cannot compare the size of gods to the size of Artorias. Artorias easily doubles the size of the gods, so no matter what punch gods throws at Artorias, Artorias is going to be able to tank every single punch and kill gods with probably 1 or 2 punches. But this is a battle of master swordsmen, and in a battle of swords, anything can happen. We never knew how powerful was Artorias in the past, so I'm going to use corrupted Artorias for this matchup. And yes, I am aware about the huge debate that exists about whether or not Artorias is weakened by the Abyss, but to be honest, every single entity the Abyss has corrupted became more powerful, every single one of them. The 4 kings, for example, so it is safe to say that it will be the same for Artorias. By the sheer size of the great sword of Artorias, gods will have to close the range between him and Artorias, and honestly, that will be the best move he can do. The strike of a sword is only efficient after the tip travels and gains a certain velocity. If gods gets inside the safe zone where the tip cannot travel a certain distance and velocity, he would be okay, but it's hard to say which would be the safe zone because the Dragon Slayer is also an oversized sword, and maybe the safe zone for gods will also be the safe zone for Artorias. Neither of them could use their swords effectively if they were close in range. Yeah, they can thrust with their swords, but both of them have inhuman reflexes and would be able to dodge their attacks easily or with some effort. While Artorias is being corrupted by the Abyss, you can see that his moves are very animalistic. He's basically attacking and dodging by pure instinct alone. There is a debate in the Dark Souls community that it says that it might be true that uncorrupted Artorias is weaker than corrupted Artorias, but could defeat himself nonetheless. This is because normal Artorias has knowledge and skill backing him up on this one. How to strike with a sword, which technique to use in a certain situation, etc. Yes, corrupted Artorias is powerful beyond belief, but he's not using techniques. He's just reacting to your attacks. There was a part in the Berserk manga where gods fought a wield, an apostle, and when they were exchanging blows, God said something like this. This is weird. I can tell he's no swordsman. He's not even using a sword, but he's parrying all of my attacks, like if he was reacting just by pure instinct. Something like that. And that could be the case for gods in this battle. Artorias is in reacting mode. He will attack, defend, and dodge by pure instincts. So gods could and will be able to approach this combat level-minded. He has dealt with so much enemies that doubled his size. Demons, apostles, Sod, Groombelt, other apostles, like gods has fought against a lot of demons and apostles that doubles his size. You name it, he's good in that field. And honestly, comparing the speed of corrupted Artorias with that of gods is not that great of a difference. This is a one-strike match. If someone strikes the other one, he's done, because of the great sword of Artorias and the Dragon Slayer. If Gods was carrying a normal sword, he will die instantly. He will not be able to parry the attacks of Artorias, and over time will be struck by him. Luckily for Gods, he has the Dragon Slayer, which has width and size a little bit on his side. This will be like the fight with the Groombelt, the giant and his Warhammer. The Warhammer is leagues beyond the great sword of Artorias, and basically send Gods flying with ease. But overall, the match will be close, there is no denying it. But Gods, this one, is the winner. He's faster and has enough power to kill Artorias with 1 or 2 blows. If the chosen undead could do it, Gods can do it as well. And what about Gods with the Berserker armor? Well, that wouldn't be fair, honestly. Do you see those moves? They are not within reason at all. No, but to be completely honest, Artorias is inspired by Berserker armor Gods, and pretty much Berserker armor Gods moves faster than Artorias corrupted by the Abyss, moves faster and strikes with a lot more power. Just by looking at the cutscenes, Gods was able to move Groombelt, a giant that stood like about 6 or 7 meters tall, like if it was a goddamn feather. Yes, Artorias was able to send flying the Chosen Undead as well with his attacks, but you cannot compare the Chosen Undead with Grumbelt. Like, Grumbelt is almost 80 meters tall. You cannot compare that height and weight to that of the chosen undead. And so, okay, Spartans, as you guys can tell, I am dying currently. If you guys watch this video until the end, honestly, I love you with all of my heart. I've been pouring my heart and soul to the latest videos, and all the likes and all the comments, I appreciate it so much. So, if you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment on what should I do in my next video, and if you think my content is pretty good, subscribe and share my video to get more viewers to view my videos. I don't know if that sounded correct, if that was and so, okay, Spartans, that is all for today. If you guys like the video, slap a like on it, I'll greatly appreciate it. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye, take care, and I love you very, very much. Thank you for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Bye bye. I need to start talking with more, like, articulating my words, because sometimes I know that you guys cannot understand me, but, well, it's hard to talk because it's hard for me because I'm Mexican, but whatever. I'll gain this, I'll talk good over time, I believe.